What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls PvP. Alright, guys, we're back at it again for part 2 of the Battle of the Build series that I like to title Eliitti's Man Dragon. Alright, now, so let's talk a little bit more about the Man Dragon. Now, if you notice, Eliitti has taken the time to go after only certain type of weapons, right? Those that obviously have fast swing speed, right? And it has to be fast enough so that as soon as he initiates the roar, that I'm close enough to where he can hurry up, right? And hit me with the 1 or 2 hit combo, for which, according to what he said, the 2 hit combo can hit me with 600 damage. And from what I have seen, those weapons are the hand axe and the Quelaag Fury Sword. Now, I mean, he kind of hit me with the roaring with the Black Knight Great Axe, but I mean, he missed a lot with that combination. But that whole little hand axe dragon roar combination is very rare that I got it there. Now, speak of the devil, I got out of it right there. But you'll notice on a lot of occasions, he'll hit me with that 2 hit combo. Alright, if you notice another thing that he's doing, he's kind of switching it up, which kind of throws me off. Because if you guys just pay close attention, in some cases, he will face me and hit the dragon roar. Whereas in other cases, he will face away from me and hit the dragon roar. Because in a number of occasions, excuse me, because, you know, we were chatting at the time and he was saying something about it. He was like, okay, dude, I'm starting to notice that you're picking up on the patterns with regard to knowing when I roar and knowing when I don't. So I'm going to have to do something about it. And he definitely started to do something about it. It's kind of ridiculous. Actually, it's ridiculous if you're on the end of it, but it's not ridiculous if you're on the, you know, if you're not the one doing all the damage. So finally got another win in there, and I think that's probably like number 5 out of I don't know how many. Now, this is probably one of the worst weapons to use in some cases, mainly because, like I said before, since he is playing unlocked, it will. You guys notice that? You guys are going to notice that when I'm doing those horizontal swings, or those vertical swings rather, since he's playing unlocked, it's easy for him to dodge those, right? Because those vertical swinging weapons are best used when you're locked on. But when you're fighting against someone who's not locked on, you know, it's kind of like, okay, miss, 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 while at the same time he's connecting. Because if you guys notice, when he's playing unlocked, those horizontally swinging weapons are the ones that seems to be the most effective. Right, because, you know, I've kind of noticed guys, they'll try to use a katana, especially with that ridiculous running R1 with the katana. And I'm sitting there like, dude, why would you try to play unlocked with a running R1 of a katana? I mean, you know, because, in other words, when you're playing unlocked, you have to be so accurate with regard to your estimations that it's almost better that you don't even take a chance. So that's why, like I've said plenty of times, and now this is only based upon my experience, because like I said, I've been experimenting lately with a little bit of this playing unlocked. And like I said before, what I have noticed is that it is a lot better for you to practice unlocked gameplay with horizontally swinging weapons. Because if you use the vertically swinging weapons, I mean, you're just setting yourself up for a whole bunch of misses, in my personal opinion. Alright. Alright, so that was a good little guess right there. And actually, this Flamberge kind of sucked because if you guys notice, you know, I was able to connect on a lot. You guys notice that damage? And actually, he had the red tearstone fired up, so no one should be surprised right there. But on that Flamberge, kind of sucked with regard to the bleed build up, because if you guys notice, I hit him on a number of occasions, and in addition to that, because you know the bleed should build up not only with hits that hit directly, but also with hits that you may get blocked hits. Right, so in other words, you should build bleed with blocked and unblocked hits. But I never even bled them out, so I don't know. It was kind of ridiculous in my personal opinion. So that was a good thrust right there with the dagger. And actually, I always slept on that dagger. I never even messed with it. I might have to go ahead and include that in my Leo Ring arsenal of thrust weapons. Alright, so we're back at it, and like I said before, he was featuring 2 builds, and even though this is a fancy dancy build, this is not the one that is basically the main focus of the battle of the builds, but I included all of the material because it was really a pleasure of mine to go ahead and face someone like Eliitti. Alright, now if you guys notice, he's using the Darkwood Grain Ring, but is he you know, a flippy, right? Is he a flippy that's only going in for roll BS? No. Now, he definitely knows how to do it because he hit me with a roll BS, and you guys will probably see it a little later. But it just goes to demonstrate, listen, you guys with your little flippy rings, you can do a lot more than flip all around the stage. I don't know how many times I've faced guys and they roll and flip so many times, it's like, dude, you're not even dodging attacks. You're just kind of ninja flipping just for the sake of ninja flipping. It's annoying. So it looks like, from what I can tell, he switched off from the... Oh, okay, he still has a Darkwood Grain Ring. Okay. So we're good to go. You guys notice he's not flipping just for the sake of flipping. He's actually dodging attacks, which I think the flip should be used for. I think a lot of people just go ahead and just dodge for the sake of dodging. And actually, that was supposed to be a BS right there. I think I kind of ran out of stamina at that point. So I was kind of disappointed because that seemed, and I'm hitting them with the noob one-handed R1 spam. Right, that's a classic noob move right there. I don't know how many times I've died to that. You guys know what I'm talking about. You're in the forest and you have some guy with his mask of the child, right, and his Havel shield, and he's one-handed a great sword, just noob swinging at you. So I just had to hit him with the noob swing. Alright. That is a nice combination that he uses with that Falcon and broadsword. And the thing is, I've never even used a broadsword. As a matter of fact, I think he's probably the first person that I've seen use a broadsword, honestly. Because the broadsword is definitely one of those weapons that are slept on. Right, and I'm not saying that it's slept on only because I don't use it. I'm saying it's slept on because I don't really remember anyone using it. Alright. All these hits, blocked and unblocked, and I'm still not getting a bleed. Even though I'm using a Flamberge. It's kind of ridiculous. Alright. Man, I missed on that 2-hit combination. Oh, punish right there. That's a good combination. I'm definitely going to try that. And another good thing about this particular build, I have never experimented with dual wielding. And after I saw him use this build, now all aside from the Darkwood Grain Ring, because I think I would probably use something else other than the Darkwood Grain Ring. But, you know, I mean, it's a good option. But the thing is, the way he's using those combos with the Falcon and with the broadsword is pretty awesome. pretty awesome, if I must say so myself. So now I kind of understand why the name Eliitti rings so many bells on Xbox, and hopefully will start to ring bells on PS3, although a lot of you guys will not be able to face him unless you come over to the Xbox. Alright, so let me do a little quick brief explanation. Here's what happened. Part 1, I kind of met up with him, and we had a series. Now after the first few matches I had to leave, right, and when I left and came back, that's how we ended up in the Berg. I said, hey dude, I'm back. He's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Well, I'm in the Berg now. But the thing is, we end up having matches, and I forgot to press the record button. So I contacted him back, and I'm like, hey dude, let's just kind of have a few more matches, because, you know, I want people to see more of the dragon form that you have. So he's like, okay, cool. So that's kind of why we went from Moonlight Butterfly Forest to the Berg, and now we're back at it in the Moonlight Butterfly Forest. Now, shout out to good old Spades, because got a new subject. Shout out to Spades. Now, I know this is dedicated to the Battle of the Bill, but I want you guys to just pay attention to what I'm talking about. High Speed Spades. He's well known on Xbox, and I think this is a perfect opportunity because he just hit me with the Roll BS. Well known on Xbox, and I'm pretty sure his name rang bells also on PS3. He just recently uploaded a counter Roll BS video. I think all you guys need to check it out. And actually, I'll ask Spades' permission to link that particular video in the description box. I want you guys to go ahead and look it up. I think it's titled Roll BS Counter. Now, unfortunately, he wasn't able to add commentary. Now, he did put forth an awesome demonstration, right? Because one thing about me, with regard to, you know, my criticisms, you know, there's a lot of people that make criticisms, but will not put forth an alternative. So, regardless of what anybody may ever say about any other uploader, if you're not going to submit an alternative, or at least put forth a different perspective, don't knock anybody else. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot disagree with the material, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of people out here who put forth their time and their effort to make contributions to the community. And there's a lot of other people out there that just seem to just make criticisms just for the sake of making them, right? I mean, in other words, there's negative people everywhere, and some people, they just see nothing good in anything, and they always have a criticism, right? So first and foremost, I like to offer my thanks to good old Spades for his contribution, because a lot of us were having problems with that Roll BS. Now, the only thing that I see with regard to that video demonstration is that, and the technique works, you know, I kind of did some practice with it. The technique works insofar as you're playing against a person who is a known Roll BSers. Shout out to all the Roll BSers out there. Right? Shout out to all of you guys. I don't want to, you know, call you out by names, but you know who you are. Shout out to all of you guys. If you're faced against some known Roll BSers, that technique will definitely work. But if you're faced against someone who knows how to Roll BS, but does not take as much advantage of it as many of these other guys, you might be in trouble. Let me give you an example. I used to grapple and wrestle, right? And, you know, they have a technique called single and double leg takedown. Now, let's just say we're kind of on the mat. We're hitting the mats. And they're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to practice single and double leg takedown defense, right? Now, since it is on my mind that we are practicing single and double leg takedown defense, I am automatically, right? Automatically gonna focus in on efforts toward a successful single and double leg takedown. That's all I'm going to pay attention to, right? Because that's what I'm practicing on. That's the technique that I'm using, and that's what I'm trying to defend against, right? Because it has been made official. That's what we're going to do. But when you're in a situation where you're just having a random fight, and let's just say you're just like, hey dude, let's just spar some rounds. And then it's not known in your mind. So in other words, you're not really conscious of a guy who's going to be shooting in for a whole bunch of, single and double leg takedowns. You don't really know what angle the guy is coming from, right? So since you're not really sure what angle the guy is coming at, you don't really know how to prepare. So I think that technique is 100% awesome if you're dealing against a known roll BSer. However, if you're kind of fighting against a guy who don't really do a lot of roll BSs, and it kind of comes out at random, that will definitely take you by surprise. Case in point, one thing I knew about Eliitti, he does, at least in the matches between he and myself, a whole bunch of kind of either I'll roll toward him and he'll attack, or he'll roll either, forward or behind me in attack. And if you guys pay close attention to what I'm doing, I will jump unlocked, swing backwards, right? Because you guys will notice in a lot of the occasions, just pay close attention. Either I'll jump forward of him or he'll jump behind me. And this is mainly when I was using my halberd. You guys notice that? That's a lot of damage. This was mainly when I was using my halberd, because if you guys will notice, when I was using my halberd, there was a lot of occasions where he got behind me, but I was immediately able to turn around and attack, and it kind of threw him for a surprise. Some of that is from what I learned from watching that Spades video, right? So like I said before, that move is super duper effective if you're known to be fighting against either a person that does a lot of roll BS attempts or a person that does a whole bunch of rolling behind you, right? And they think they're going to get behind you. 100% awesome technique. So, like I said before, I would suggest for a lot of you guys go check it out. And actually, I don't know why that wasn't a roll BS right there. So go ahead and check it out. I think the video is titled Roll BS Defense. I'm going to have to ask good old Spades, can I put a link to his video in my description box? Hopefully he won't have a problem with it. But, I mean, at least until I get a chance to talk to him, please check it out. I think his name is, just put Dark Souls Spades and Roll BS Counter or Counter Roll BS or something like that. And the video will be up. Now, like I said before, there's no commentary, at least up to this point. Hopefully he will upload another video that will add commentary. But it definitely put forth some awesome demonstrations. Now, one thing to pay close attention with regard to Spades' video. This is just what I gathered, right? It's kind of like when you're dealing with a known roll BSer. You guys notice what I did? As soon as I jumped, I unlocked and swung behind me. And this is why on a lot of those occasions, especially when I was using a halberd, he wasn't able to hit me. Well, actually, I can't say he wasn't able to, but I was able to hit him when he thought he was going to hit me first. But like I said before, when you're dealing with a known roll BSer, or one of those guys that like to kind of roll all the time and they trying to kind of end up behind you, right? It's kind of like almost at the same time that you swing, you need to hit that unlock button and immediately turn around. Now, the fancy dancy parry, that'll work sometimes, but it doesn't always work. I practiced it. Shout out to good old Crunchy, and shout out to Raven. Shout out to good old Raven. Now he's kind of using the high speed, what they call the martyrs build. But shout out to Raven, that guy's kind of fancy on the parries. But you know, I kind of contacted them guys. I'm like, hey dude, I mean, you guys want to spar? You know, maybe I want to practice Spades' counter roll BS technique. And we probably sparred for probably about 25 minutes with unupgraded weapons. And the technique can work. But I'm thinking, based upon my own experiences with Spades' suggested technique, is that the kick might be a little more effective than the parry. Now, the parry will work, but I think the kick might be a lot more effective because you might miss on the parries. And if you miss on the parries, I mean, either you'll get a partial or you might parry too quick and you might get hit. Now, granted, you might not get roll BS'd, but if your timing is off on the parry, you could get punished for it. Right, so keep in mind that when you practice that technique, the parry, it's a good effort, but just keep in mind that if you miss the parry, you might get punished. And let me see, what else did he do? Now, the technique with the halberd definitely works because I was doing it with good old Eliitti. You guys will notice it when I pull out my Black Knight halberd. I think in about 2 or 3 more matches, you guys will notice it. He'll keep getting behind me and I'll just instantly turn around and hit him with it, kind of catch him by surprise. The halberd, that method definitely works. The parry, it can work, but you guys really need to be careful because if your timing is off, you will miss and get punished. The kick, I need more practice with the kick, but I think the kick is probably the most effective counter, right? Because it's kind of like an instant turnaround kick. You guys notice that damage? Ugh, it's like hyper mode with the power within. Alright, so enough about good old Spades' roll BS counter video that I hope a lot of you guys go out and check out. Alright, so enough about that. So, I mean, I guess I kind of gave a rant about Spades' video and a rant about Eliitti's video that I haven't even said anything about my own build, despite the fact that it is a battle of the builds. Right? But see, the thing is, there's really nothing special about my build, right? The first video, I basically featured my Dex build with the option for a Leo ring, and actually that was a dead angling, rolling R1 attack with the Black Knight Great Axe. And I got sucked right into it. You guys notice that damage? It's ridiculous what that Dragon Roar can do, and actually that was an awesome one-handed Claymore R1 attack. And actually we were kind of experimenting and he kind of added the Claymore to his arsenal, because at least from our conversations, the weapons that he had in mind was the hand axe, the Quailag, the Black Knight Great Axe, and the Zweihander. And you know, after a little experimentation, he's like, man, I'm gonna go ahead and throw in that Claymore as well. And it's awesome, definitely awesome. No one can deny the awesomeness of the Claymore. So now that I have the Black Knight halberd, I want you guys to pay close attention. And you guys notice that? You guys notice that? Okay, now he rolled that time, and actually that was a pretty good roll. It was so fast I didn't have the time to do anything. But like I said before, in part 2, now in part 1 I didn't really do it a lot, but in part 2, whenever you guys see me with the Black Knight halberd, just go ahead and kind of rewind and check it out. You'll notice he'll either roll behind me or I'll roll, and I'll catch him by surprise with the hit. Right, and that was kind of, what I gathered from Spades' counter roll video. Alright, so like I said before, part 1 of the video, and actually, you guys noticed, and actually he was kind of talking to me on the chat, and he's like, you know what, dude, you kind of had some good timing on dodging those roars. So what he would do is he would turn around, and instead of turn around and instantly roar, he would turn around, wait, probably a half second or a second, and then roar. So even though I am jumping out of it, I still get hit and therefore inflicted with the damage with his roaring combo. Alright, so like I said before, nothing fancy about my build. This is just my strength build. You guys noticed this on my forest hunting video, part 2 of that. And part 1 just basically featured me with my Dex build that has the option to use the Leo ring. Really nothing special. Standard data. So, I mean, a lot of this video was basically dedicated to talking about Eliitti's Man-Dragon build. Now, hopefully I might get good old Eliitti on here again, and we can have some different matches with perhaps another build, because this dragon is 100% OP. Maybe sometime in the future when he uses a different build, I might stand a better chance. But, I mean, this build was so difficult to fight. Right? And like I said before, it's not necessarily that the tactic of roaring and attacking is all that difficult, but the fact that he has a rare Tearstone ring, in addition to the 30% damage boost that you get with the roar. Okay, so I missed that when I was slightly off with regard to that attack. But so it's just 100% OP, because not only does it get the benefit of the roar, but once he's in red Tearstone ring, I mean, I'm really done for it. So yeah, and I think actually I can't even really remember. I think he's gonna tighten me up with this. Alright, so I got him with that. You guys notice that? Now, it's pretty good with those halberds. And actually, you know, in our dialogue with each other, he was saying that. He was like, you know what, dude? I have my biggest problem against the Balder side sword. Shout out to good old Demon. He was here too when we were having these matches, and he was kind of pointing him out. He was like, listen, that dude is super awesome with his Leo Balder build, and I had the biggest problem with that. So he was saying that he had the biggest problem with the halberd and with the Balder side sword. Alright? In addition to the weaknesses he has with the super low poison resistance, the super low bleed resistance, and the super low toxic resistance. Now, had I had to do this fight all over again, guys notice that? He's not able to get right behind me and attack. Had I had to do this all, and as a matter of fact, if this were on PS3, I would have pulled out my hybrid Faith Mage. I think this probably would have been one of the best builds to fight against Eliitti. But, you know, since I'm relatively new to Xbox, I really don't have all my builds. But I think I'll have my Faith Mage created as a third build for Xbox. If I had to fight them all over again, I would use my Faith Mage, and I think some of you guys are familiar with the capabilities of my Faith Mage, because I would definitely try to put an end to a lot of that stuff that he's doing. Now, unfortunately, I think the roar can repel certain sorceries. I'm not 100% sure, but at the same time, it would throw him off the square, because think about it, my Faith Mage has a chameleon. He wouldn't be able to focus in on me at the time that he's focusing. I have the homing crystal soul mass, for which I'm pretty good with kind of having that home in addition to whatever else I've had and demonstrated in past videos with regard to my Faith Mage. Right, so if I had to do this all over again, as a matter of fact, I would probably play a Pyromancer and cast either Toxic or Poison Mist, or I would just use my Faith Mage. Alright guys, well, this is pretty much it. This is the last bout of the two-part series. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks again to good old Eliitti. I hope you guys got a little inspiration from the Man-Dragon build. So, until next time, Martyrs Brigade is out.